Welcome. Are you ready for your 10-minute fiction vacay? Do you need a little work break? A little pick-me-up? Stay tuned. My name is Marie LeClaire, and I'll be reading Chapter 4 from my novel, The Last Yard Sale. You can get it free from Amazon and other booksellers. When we left off, Marybeth was heading to bed after a very strange day. I hope you enjoy it. Chapter 4. Marybeth woke up early Sunday morning to the smell of brewing coffee, courtesy of the programming feature on the Cuisinart. She enjoyed Sunday mornings sitting at the table, watching the birds through the window. Her house was small, but comfortable for a single woman. It could even be comfortable for a couple, if that opportunity ever looked interesting again. After the demise of her marriage and the financial devastation of the divorce, she didn't think she'd ever consider it, but who knew? Thoughts of the box, as she was now referring to it, kept her tossing and turning most of the night and continued to plague her in the early hours of the morning. Trying to distract herself, she had eaten breakfast and showered by 7:30 a.m. Now, she wandered around the house, wondering how early she could call on the old woman. A list of questions was developing in her head. Who was the old woman? Why did she have these visions? What was she supposed to do with the items in the box? After pacing the kitchen 3 more times, she decided to go find the house. Maybe the old woman would be outside working in the front yard before the heat of the day, or enjoying the quiet morning on the porch. As she backed out of the driveway, she noticed her hands trembling. Too much coffee, she thought, not wanting it to be nerves. She headed back the way she came the evening before, retracing her trail as best she could remember. It was early on Sunday morning, and the country roads still held onto the quiet of dawn. A few birds dipped past her car, but no other activity disturbed the peace. She turned down the road she was sure had led to the yard sale. It turned to dirt shortly after leaving the main road and had grass growing down the middle as she went further along. The road dead-ended, just as it had yesterday, but the last house was not the same. Again, she noticed the trembling in her hands, now joined by a quickening heartbeat. What was going on? Thinking she was confused, she decided this was the wrong street and turned around. She spent the next 2 hours driving down every country road she could find, trying desperately to retrace her steps from yesterday. Finally, defeated and disoriented, she headed home. She threw the box back in the corner of the garage, giving it a kick for good measure before sitting down on the footlocker she had purchased the day before. What is happening to me? This kind of thing wasn't supposed to happen, at least not to her. Some people seem to have knowledge of other realms, or claim they did. She believed that there was something beyond this existence, but conventional religion seemed a bit too heavy on the guilt and shame for her taste. The New Age stuff held some promise for her, until she saw the woman who claimed to channel deceased pets from their new home on Saturn, or the angel whisperer who could talk to the dead and ask spirits to manipulate life's circumstances. Even if she bought into any of these ideas, none of them helped her understand what was happening. She needed to make sense of things quickly, fearing she would go crazy if she didn't. She leaned over and looked into the box. On top, looking up at her, was the baby doll. She remembered vividly the images associated with this item from the day before. Hesitant to pick it up again, she convinced herself she was being silly and should attend to it like any other yard sale item. Taking a deep breath, she reached for the doll. Nothing happened. She picked it up, looked at it, turned it over, then closed her eyes, anticipating some strange experience. Nothing happened. Today, it seemed to be just a doll. Again, she questioned her memory and her sanity. She was reluctant to move the doll into the resale pile just yet. What if someone else picked it up and had some weird kind of episode? It might not be safe to put it in the store. As she contemplated what to do with it, the phone rang. She ran into the house to catch it, taking the doll with her. She looked up the caller ID and was surprised to see Regina's name on the display. These days, Regina rarely called her unless something was wrong. A knot tightened in her stomach. Had she somehow known of Marybeth's musing last night? That would be hard to believe, but a lot of things were suddenly hard to believe. She gingerly picked up the phone as if it might electrocute her. Hello? She said. Hello, Marybeth. It's me, Reggie. They hadn't been not talking, but they had carefully avoided each other since their argument 2 years ago. Marybeth felt badly about it. She understood why her sister felt hurt, and could admit to herself at least that she had, in fact, cut her sister off emotionally. She had cut everyone off, choosing instead to suck it all in until it threatened to destroy her. In hindsight, not the best plan she ever had. Now, she couldn't see how to get across the great divide that had developed since then. Can I invite myself over for lunch? Regina tentatively began. Sure, Reggie, she said, not having a good reason to say no. I'll be there in a few. Regina hung up before either one could take the conversation any further. Marybeth looked into the dead phone and then down at the doll in her hand. Her pulse quickened a bit, wondering if this was the moment of truth for them. She should have cleared the air years ago. But there was so much chaos back then, and, after all, Regina hadn't tried to reach out to her either. Emotional exhaustion had stopped her then. Now it was flat-out avoidance. Regina only lived 2 miles away, and she really would arrive in just a few minutes. Marybeth started rushing around the house, straightening up the living room and putting clutter out of sight. Looking at the doll still in her hand, she stuck it quickly up on the mantel and headed back to the kitchen looking for something to eat. She knew the cupboards were mostly bare. Peanut butter and jelly, a few cans of soup, and the beef stew she passed over the night before. Peanut butter was out. Her sister was severely allergic. Jelly sandwiches and soup? Not very appealing. She defaulted to her old standby, coffee. It was a love they had shared since college, when they would sit for hours drinking and talking. Would this be one of those times? As promised, in just a few minutes, there was a knock at the door. Hello, Regina called into the house. Marybeth welcomed her with a polite hug and was just about to apologize for the lack of lunch when she noticed Regina carrying a bag. I whipped up a couple of egg sandwiches and chips, she said almost apologetically. Great, thanks. I haven't been grocery shopping in a while. Yes, I remember you hate that since. So anyway, I came prepared. How are things going? They both asked at the same time. Oh, sorry. No, you go first. They both continued awkwardly, talking over each other. How about some coffee? Marybeth finally got in. That would be great, thanks. She poured them both a cup of coffee and then sat down at the kitchen table. The lunch bag sat untouched. They sipped their coffee in an awkward silence until finally Regina started off. How have you been? It's been a mixed bag, you know, lots of changes, some easy, some not so much. How about you? They both silently agreed on small talk. Regina continued. Same for me. I moved in with Tony. That's been good. We'd love to have you over for dinner one of these days. Regina grimaced as she realized how lame the invitation sounded. God, Marybeth thought, how much harder can this get? She stared down at her coffee. In her heart, she knew the first apology was hers to make. Look, Reggie, we both know things have been hard for us for a while, and I'm sorry. I know I carry a lot of the responsibility for that. The words rolled off her lips as if she had rehearsed them many times, which she had. You were right. I shut down. I shut everyone out, including you. I kept things to myself, maybe hoping to avoid my own pain. It was a bad idea. She looked up to gauge her sister's response. It was Regina's turn to look down at her coffee. I couldn't understand why you didn't talk to me about things. I was hurt, and I said a lot of things I shouldn't have. I'm sorry for that. Now that I have my own relationship, things look different. I know. At the time, I felt like you wouldn't understand. Now I get it, but I didn't give you a chance to understand or not. What did you think I wouldn't understand? Regina had a pleading tone in her voice. First of all, the whole pregnancy thing. Like what? Marybeth paused, looking for the words she wanted and bracing herself for her own pain. She folded her hands together to steady herself. The in vitro thing. Most people don't understand the indignities of it. It sounds nice, but it's not. The procedures are embarrassing and time consuming, and they have a low success rate. You don't want to tell people because you don't want to deal with all the questions about how it's going. And, of course, the inevitable, are you pregnant yet? She looked up to see Regina grimacing. I was one of those people, huh? Marybeth shrugged and went on. You have no idea how painful it is. It sucks the joy out of you. At least I can say that's how it was for me. I'm sure it's different for some couples. Maybe if I'd have gotten pregnant, it would have all seemed worth it, but I didn't. And I just couldn't talk about it. She looked down at her hands and shook her head. I've had just as long to think about things as you. I can see how my enthusiasm might have made things worse. I just wanted to be your best cheerleader, like always, Regina said. I know you did, but you didn't let me feel how I felt, which was defeated, embarrassed, and ashamed. Ashamed? Regina interrupted with surprise. But why? I felt like God didn't think I was good enough to be a mother, or that somehow this was punishment for something. Marybeth sat back, distancing herself from her sister. But you know that's ridiculous, right? Regina jumped in. Yes and no. It's way more complicated than you think. And I felt like I couldn't have these conversations with you because, just like now, you won't let me have my feelings. But Regina started to defend herself, then stopped. Okay, I get it. I didn't allow you any space to have negative feelings about anything. Why didn't you say something? I did. You didn't hear me. I'm so sorry. Regina was lost for what else to say. Add to that the financial stress brought on by medical bills and the fact that somewhere along the way, Eric started spending money on crazy stuff. What do you mean? I had no idea. Yeah, Marybeth paused in reflection. One day he decided we both needed bicycles and bought them without even having a conversation with me. $2,500 worth. We never even used them. Oh no, Regina said sympathetically. And then there was the contractor he paid $500, cash, of course, to seal the driveway, who was never seen again. And the $400 watch he bought me for a birthday present, even though we couldn't pay the mortgage. Oh my God. I couldn't keep up with what he was doing. I felt like I had to micromanage him. Money became a constant argument. And in the end, we were under crushing financial stress too. I wish you had told me, Regina said quietly. They sat in silence, each beginning to understand the other's pain. Marybeth had been keeping the coffee cups full, and they were waiting on the second pot to finish dripping when Regina finally said, "How about we eat those sandwiches?" "I've got a better idea." Marybeth opened the cupboard. She reached up to the top shelf and pulled out a large blue tin of butter cookies. She held it up for approval. A smile lit up Regina's face as she pointed at the tin. "Now that's what I'm talking about." They both laughed. "Let's go sit in the living room. It's more comfortable than these kitchen chairs." Marybeth grabbed the pot of coffee and led the way. Regina grabbed her cup and followed after her. As they rounded the corner, Regina looked around the room, taking in the new home her sister had created in her absence. She noticed all the little things she knew her sister loved, like the geranium drooping over the mantel. Then her eyes landed on the doll. "What's this?" Her smile faded a bit. She placed the coffee cups on the table and asked in a shaky voice, "Where did you get this?" Marybeth, puzzled by the reaction and not wanting to complicate things, simply replied, "At a yard sale." "I had one like it when we were little," Regina said. "Really? I don't remember that." Marybeth turned away, putting cookies and coffee pot on the table. "I didn't play with it much." Her voice was soft as she gathered the memory from somewhere in the back of her brain. Then she gently took the small toy off the shelf. Marybeth looked up to see her holding the doll, and before she could say anything, her sister froze, still holding the doll in the air. And that's the end of chapter 4. I'm happy you stayed with me. I hope you're feeling better than when we started. Sometimes all it takes is a little vacay in the middle of the day. If you're wanting a little more of the story, check out the playlist for the last yard sale by chapter. There are a lot of other stories here on my channel to listen to as well. Or you can check out my website, marie-leclaire.com. You can find my novels directly on Amazon too. The links are in the description below. And please like and comment before you go. See you at the next vacay. I wonder where that will be.